Breaking down the Vikings from the perspective of a former NFL General Manager of the Year. It's Jeff Diamond's Purple Report. Presented by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers.
Welcome to Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you every Monday and Thursday, and occasionally, today it's Wednesday, because we have Thanksgiving, of course, tomorrow. A very happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And our next show actually will be next Tuesday after the Monday night game against the Bears. So we're in kind of that flux period here, but we'll get back on the Monday-Thursday schedule after the bye week. And after this week, as I said, our next show next Tuesday, then no show next Thursday, no show the following Monday with the bye week, and then we'll pick it back up on Thursday, December 7th, before the Vikings take on the Raiders. And maybe there'll be a Justin Jefferson sighting in Las Vegas at that point on the field, because I'm not sure we're going to see him on Monday night against the Bears. If you kind of read between the lines of what Kevin O'Connell says and what Jefferson says, I'm not sure he'll be back, but maybe he will surprise us after the loss, after they finally lost their first game without him. But we shall see as the Vikings seek to rebound. And as I said, this is Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers on 1500 ESPN, available 24/7 on YouTube via links from the 1500 ESPN and Score North websites. I'm Jeff Diamond, former Vikings GM, former Tennessee Titans president. Our producer is AJ Fredrickson, does a great job putting the show together. And AJ, the Vikings need a rebound after the game in Denver on Sunday night.
Yeah, it was, we talked about this on Monday, just kind of how frustrating it is to have them lose that game on the road in Denver. But, they're going to have to turn it around. They have an extra day to prepare for the Bears. It's one of those games where they're going to have to... It's a division opponent, Jeff, so they need to really get the ball going early, establish the run, and have Josh Dobbs kind of refined, not that he lost it, but the magic, the luster that we found leading up to that loss in Denver. So refine that again, pave the way the next couple of weeks, and who knows, you're knocking on the door for that playoff time. Yeah,
this will be Josh Dobbs' second home game. He had the home initial appearance in the win over the Saints, played great that day, and so I think with the energy at U.S. Bank Stadium on Monday night, with the crowd amped up after the holiday weekend, creating a lot of noise, which would make it difficult for the Bears to hear the signals, and for Justin Fields, who's a very dangerous threat, as the Vikings are well aware, and as the Lions almost found out to their chagrin on Sunday when Fields almost led the big upset before their conservative play calling did him in. But it'll be the Vikings and the Bears, the great rivalry. Vikings have won 5 straight in the series. Wasn't too long ago where it was about the opposite back in the days of Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, and the problems that the Vikings had in the late 2018-19, that time frame. But the last couple of years have gone well for the Vikings, not so well for the Bears. Vikings 6-5 now, seeking to get to 7-5, which should help solidify their playoff push. The Bears are going nowhere at 3-8, and all they're doing is, if they win a game, it just hurts their draft position at this point.
Yeah.
And they've also got the Carolina Panthers first-round pick from the Bryce Young trade. So the Bears are going to have a great opportunity to really increase their talent level. And the big question for the Bears is going to be, are they going to go quarterback, or are they going to live with Justin Fields and continue to watch him improve? I think he's still a very talented player, as we saw, especially in that first half against Detroit last week. And he had 104 yards rushing in that game. It's going to be a big challenge for the Vikings defense to contain him, but they did a good job on Russell Wilson, keeping him in the pocket. He only had 2 rushes for 1 yard, and he's a guy that's hurt them in the past in the running game.
Yeah, and I know some people say, well, Jeff, it's not young, mobile, agile Russell Wilson. He's still got those tricks up his sleeve. He's a seasoned vet. He's got some feet under him. So Brian Flores has kind of reinvented this defense, and we saw that with how many times did we see them kind of have to hold the Denver Broncos offense this past week? They got the ball put on them in very short territory and limited them to a field goal. It's been enough to, I guess, maybe reignite the conversation of where's Brian Flores going to go if he does get an opportunity this offseason, and that's a conversation for another day. I know we're going to talk a lot about this matchup against the Bears.
Yeah, and I think it'll be a really interesting game from the blitzing standpoint, because one thing that happened in the Denver game, the Broncos got a lot of pressure on Josh Dobbs via the blitz, and that's going to be something I think the teams in the future, starting with the Bears and then the Raiders and so forth, are going to try to copy that and try to put pressure on Dobbs in that respect, test that Vikings offensive line, pass protection, and Dobbs is under pressure, as we talked about on Monday, significantly 58% of his dropbacks on Sunday night. That'll be a big challenge, too. The Bears' defense, they're very good against the run, number 2 ranked in the league, not so good against the pass, number 26. So it certainly behooves the Vikings to get that passing game going. The Bears have only 15 sacks this year, which is the lowest number in the NFL. They did pick up Montez Sweat at the trade deadline from Washington. He's a very good pass rusher, had a sack against Detroit. So we'll see how that all shakes out. So what we want to do, we want to kind of go through a little bit of the highlights and hear from Kevin O'Connell, Brian Flores, Byron Murphy. But let's start with going back to that Week 6 win for the Vikings in Chicago, 19-13. The Vikings really held down. Kirk Cousins still a quarterback at that point. It was the first game without Justin Jefferson. Only 220 yards of offense, 46 yards rushing. And as I said, the Bears very good against the run. We'll see if Ty Chandler takes over that starting running back, as we've all been lobbying for over Alexander Mattison. That'll be a big question to watch for this week. The Vikings defense forced 3 turnovers in the game, which was the big difference, and knocking Justin Fields out of the game. He missed 4 games. Last week was his first game back. The Vikings, as we said, that was the start of their 5-game winning streak. Tyson Bagent came in for Fields and had a couple turnovers late in the game. So let's go back to that game, mid-October, Week 16. Vikings go into Soldier Field at 1-4, desperately needing a win, which they got. Early in the game, Kirk Cousins completes a touchdown pass to Jordan Addison. As I said, the Bears not great against the pass.
Either your receiver gets it or nobody gets it.
Cousins perfect on this drive so far. Looking in, so caught! Touchdown! It's the rookie, Jordan Addison. And Minnesota grabs the lead late in the second quarter.
You got to think of that at this point in the season. You know, it's Week 6. People are still thinking, okay, what's this guy Jordan Addison have? He's kind of shown some promise here and there. And obviously now with hindsight, we know that this guy is a bona fide wide receiver 2, if not 1, because he's really filled in a big way with Justin Jefferson out for how long ever it's been. But this was kind of the starting motion of getting all that attention and that spotlight his way, right? Yeah,
Jordan has been really good in his rookie season. And I write for a website called the 33rd Team. I did a piece for them this week on the biggest draft steals. And I did include Jordan since he was the 4th wide receiver taken in this draft. But he's outperformed the other 3 guys ahead of him as first rounders. He's got 7 touchdown receptions, which leads all rookies and ranks 3rd in the NFL. He's having a great rookie season. I think when they get Jefferson back, whether it's against the Bears or against the Raiders, and then you put Jefferson, Addison, Osborne, Hawkinson, throw in a little Brandon Powell, I think this team could be just explosive in the passing game, even without Cousins, with Josh Dobbs, who has shown he can throw the ball very well when he's protected. That's going to be really interesting to see when it happens. Not sure we're going to see that this week, but as that game progressed, Danielle Hunter made a huge play, 3rd quarter sack of Justin Fields, which created the injury to Fields with his thumb that knocked him out for 4 weeks, and this was a big play in the game.
Needs 7 yards. He's got time, and now the pressure gets to him. He tried to flip it last second, but I think they're going to say he's down. Daniil Hunter.
On the field is that the quarterback was down prior to the pass.
And that was ruled a sack, and you could see Fields looking at his thumb and knocked him out for a month, but he was back on Sunday. Then probably the biggest play in the game, Josh Metellus on a blitz, forces a fumble by Tyson Bagent, the replacement quarterback. And again, you think about some of these teams, AJ, around the NFL that have had these big quarterback injuries this year. And I'm talking about guys like now Joe Burrow in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And he's going to be replaced by an ex-Viking, Jake Browning, with his first start. You think about Deshaun Watson lost for the season with his shoulder in Cleveland with a team that's right on the cusp of the division lead with Baltimore. Now they got to go to a rookie fifth-round pick. Mm-hmm. And they had Josh Dobbs until they unloaded him in August to Arizona for a fifth-round pick and had to give back a seventh. Ugh. Just a ridiculously stupid trade at that point for a guy that could have been their number 2 quarterback for behind Watson, who's had injury problems in the past. Wouldn't the Browns love to have Josh Dobbs today instead of a rookie fifth-rounder for their playoff run? But you think about Daniel Jones out in New York, Aaron Rodgers, and the problems with Zach Wilson at the Jets, Anthony Richardson at the Colts. It's been a tough year for starting quarterbacks around the NFL, including, of course, here with Kirk Cousins. Mm-hmm. But the Vikings have to consider themselves very fortunate and smart to have pulled off the deal for Josh Dobbs, especially the way it's turned out early on, and we'll see how it pans out going forward. But
yeah, that's looking like quite a good bit of business for Kwesi and crew, just because.
Right. But as we said, Bagent had his growing pains. He did win a couple games.
That's true. For
the Bears. But again, early on in this particular game, and here's that scoop and score we were talking about.
Pressure coming here, and the ball is out. It's still free, and the Vikings pick it up. Down the sideline goes Jordan Hicks, and Hicks is in for the scoop and score for the Minnesota Vikings.
And that created the 2-score lead, which the Vikings held on even as the Bears rallied, made it a 6-point game. Byron Murphy had a big assignment in that particular game in Week 6. He was tasked to follow DJ Moore almost exclusively in the game and probably had his best game with the interception we're going to show in a second. And he also held DJ Moore, who's the 8th leading receiver in the league, held him to 51 yards on 5 catches in that game. DJ Moore, very dangerous receiver for the Bears, and I would anticipate that Byron Murphy will get that assignment again this week. When you think about the difficulties that Mekhi Blackman and Caleb Evans have had, we'll see if Evans can make it back from the calf injury. And the Bears still have a dangerous other receiver in Darnell Mooney, a really good tight end in Cole Kmet. Their offensive line is a little shaky. So if the Vikings can get the pressure on Fields and keep him in the pocket, that's going to be the key. But let's look at the game-sealing interception by Byron Murphy.
Bagent able to take advantage.
Coming up on the 2-minute warning. Bagent lets it fly, but it's a duck and it's intercepted. Byron Murphy picked it off. Oh, then he fumbles it. And they're fighting for it right around the 45-yard line. But it is going to be Minnesota's football.
The ruling on the field is an interception, a fumble, and recovery by Minnesota.
This is where we were saying after the game, AJ, just get down, Byron, in that situation. The game is over. All they have to do is kind of run out the clock. And the worst thing you could do is fumble. He was lucky he recovered that ball.
Yeah, just one of those fortunate. We're going to let the football god smile down because he got the ball poked out and he falls right back on top of it. So it was out for a split second.
Exactly. And before we're going to show a couple of Bear highlights against the Lions and then get into a little more discussion of Vikings, Bears, and big games around the NFL coming up over the next weekend, Thanksgiving Day, night, Sunday. A lot of division leads on the line. And then, of course, the Vikings and the Bears on Monday night round out Week 12. But let's talk about our great sponsor, the Select Minnesota Buick GMC Dealers. There are trucks, then there's the truck, GMC Sierra, with available features like the V8 engine, the ultimate luxury interior, and, of course, the available world's first 6-function multi-pro tailgate. GMC Sierra, not just any truck, the truck. GMC's commitment to professional-grade engineering is on full display at your local GMC dealer. Come take a test drive today and see for yourself. We are professional-grade GMC. Well-qualified buyers step up to GMC with 0.9% APR on 2023 Sierra light-duty models, plus no monthly payments until 2024. See your local GMC dealer today. Length of contract limited. Deferred monthly payments for 120 days. Excludes residents of Pennsylvania and Maine. Must finance with GM Financial. Down payment required at signing, if applicable. Finance charges accrue from date of financing. Some customers will not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 12/4/23. Now let's take a look at the Bears and the Lions on Sunday. This was kind of a wild game, which we talked about the other night. The Lions really were behind the 8 ball so much of this game. Jared Goff throws 3 interceptions. They turn the ball over 4 times. The Bears have a 9-point lead with a little over 4 minutes to go. Justin Fields has a big run, and then they go conservative, end up kicking a field goal, which cost them the game ultimately because the Lions went down and scored, stopped the Bears, got the ball back, went down and scored again, and then sacked Fields for a safety. It was just a disaster for Chicago as the game turned out. But there were certainly some highlights for the Bears in this game, and we can see how dangerous DJ Moore and Justin Fields can be on this 39-yard touchdown pass.
They always have a plan to stop Aiden Hutchinson.
Yep. White was matched up with him again. Fields climbs. Fields throws. Touchdown. 1-2 punch delivers. It's Fields to Moore for the lead.
That was a great job by Fields stepping up in the pocket. That's something the Vikings do not want to see come Monday night. Then Tremaine Edmonds, one of their big free agent signees, along with TJ Edwards, their 2 leading tacklers. Edmonds had a big interception in this game. This was the 3rd interception of Goff.
To go for it on 4th down today. Goff, not good that time. His 3rd interception, and it's another Bears newcomer, Tremaine Edmonds, back in the lineup, and he's got the 3rd Bears pick.
Yeah, and it sure looked bad for the Lions at that point. And we're thinking, whoop, they could drop to whatever they would have been 7-3 at that point. The Vikings, if they'd won Sunday night, would have been only a half game back. Didn't turn out that way, as we know.
Yeah.
Then our last highlight for the Bears in this game before things went really sour for them, Justin Fields had a great 29-yard run. Shows how dangerous he can be with his athletic ability and his legs.
Play clock winding down. 4-man rush. Fields with nothing down the field. Penalty marker flies in. Fields takes off. Fields with a big run. Fields still on his feet, and he slides down inside the 35. We'll have to check the penalty flag at the 45-yard line.
So the Lions end up winning this ball game over the Bears. Bears drop, as we said, to 3-8. Lions 8-2, cruising in the NFC North. But the Vikings still have 2 more shots at the Lions if they can somehow get a little closer. Mm-hmm. And the Lions have a fairly interesting game with the Green Bay Packers on Thanksgiving Day tomorrow. And we'll see how that turns out. The Packers coming off a win over the Chargers. They're capable of pulling the upset if Detroit plays as poorly as they did against the Bears early on. But Thanksgiving Day in Detroit, they get cranked up for that game. And I don't see the Packers winning that particular game.
That being said, Jeff, with this division, it's the Lions' to lose. You know
exactly, and the pressure's on them. So.
Exactly, and with this kind of new regime, you don't know how well they can hold up under that pressure. Maybe they'll crumble, maybe they'll fortify and push on, and they'll win the division. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and for the Packers, if they fall to 4-7, they're basically out of it. So they have to figure that their season's on the line. So it sets up a really good matchup. I think it'll be a fun game to watch. The game this Monday night against the Bears, much more important game than the Bronco game last Sunday for the reasons we talked about. It's a division game. If the Vikings can get the win, they'll move to 3-0 in NFC North games. They would move to 7-2 in NFC games, which is, of course, a huge tiebreaker when you get into wild card playoff calculations. And so this game is really important for the Vikings to find a way to get the win. As we said, the Bears come in 20th ranked offense. Their running game is 4th ranked, and that's due in large part to Justin Fields, who had 104 yards rushing last week. Passing game only 25th. They've allowed 32 sacks, which is 6th most in the league. Should create an opportunity for Danielle Hunter, for DJ Wanham and company. Josh Metellus, Harrison Smith on the blitz. Both teams -6 in the turnover ratio has been a problem for both teams. Vikings were +5 in turnovers during their 5-game winning streak and then went backwards in Denver, going -3. As we mentioned, the Bears' 2nd-ranked rush defense in the league. Big challenge for the Vikings' offensive line, tight ends, wide receivers, C.J. Ham as the fullback, to open up some space and keep the offense relatively balanced, even though Chicago 26th against the pass. And that's where the Vikings can really do some damage in this game, along with being able to sack Fields, keep him in the pocket. Those are keys to the game. And as we said, we'll just see how it plays out. Looking around the NFL, mentioned Packers at the Lions on Thanksgiving Day. On Thanksgiving night, the 49ers are at Seattle. San Francisco 7-3, Seattle 6-4. This is with the NFC West lead on the line. On Sunday, 7-3 Jacksonville at 6-4 Houston, who is surging with 3 straight wins. C.J. Stroud is the surefire offensive player, the rookie of the year, and he's actually in the conversation for MVP as a rookie. He's having a fantastic year.
Panthers got to be kicking themselves with that draft pick, don't you think?
Exactly. He's got Tank Dell, another rookie, 3rd-round pick to throw to, who's having a great year. Some other big games. New Orleans is at Atlanta for first place in the kind of suspect NFC South. Falcons are 4-6. The Saints 5-5. 2 teams that are hot. Cleveland, as we said, with the rookie Dorian Thompson-Robinson, going to Denver to face the Broncos with their 3-game winning streak, and Buffalo tries to keep their wild card playoff hopes alive in a difficult game at Philadelphia. The Eagles riding high with the league best 9-1 record after a big win on Monday night against Kansas City at Arrowhead. Let's hear again from our great sponsor, the Select Minnesota Buick GMC Dealers.
There are trucks, then there's the truck, GMC Sierra, with available features like the V8 engine, the ultimate luxury interior, and of course, the available world's first 6-function multi-pro tailgate. GMC Sierra, not just any truck, the truck. GMC's continued commitment to professional-grade engineering is on full display at your local GMC dealer. Come take a test drive today and see for yourself. We are professional-grade GMC. Well-qualified buyers step up to GMC with 0.9% APR on 2023 Sierra light-duty models. Plus, no monthly payments until 2024. See your local GMC dealer today. Length of contract limited. Deferred monthly payments for 120 days. Excludes residents of Pennsylvania and Maine. Must finance with GM Financial. Down payment required at signing if applicable. Finance charges accrue from date of financing. Some customers will not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 12/4/23.
And let's hear from Coach Kevin O'Connell as he talks about the Denver game and looks forward to the Bear game.
In our losses, that turnover margin has really been a deciding factor in all of them. But that doesn't take away the fact that there's a lot of areas that we can continue to improve. I can continue to improve for our team. And that's what we'll get ready to go do with a great opportunity to be back at US Bank this week. Division opponent. We're 2-0 in the division. We want to continue to win our games in the division. It's a huge priority for us, and it's going to be a challenge. Chicago went and played a really good game yesterday, had a chance to beat the Lions there, a team that's having a great season, really hard to beat at home, and Chicago went in there and gave them all they could handle. So we've got to have a great week of preparation. and take that to US Bank and have another great atmosphere there. It's been phenomenal this year for our team.
And Kevin, talking about the possibility of Justin Jefferson returning.
Hey, Kevin, I just wanted to check in and see what's the plan with Justin Jefferson this week, and does the loss create any urgency at all to get him back?
Well, just with his impact for our team, I mean, there's been some real urgency, throughout this whole process, but also with a mindset on being smart and making sure that he feels as good as possible, as good as we can, to him feeling 100% when he comes back. I know he had a really good week last week. We'll have an extra day this week of kind of time for him to turn over. We'll continue to push him more. As of right now, I look at him as questionable for the football game through a little more work throughout the week and see where he's at come the weekend as far as his availability for Monday night. But he's progressing really well and doing a little bit more, and I think he's gaining the confidence that when that time comes, he's going to be ready to roll.
Yeah, Kevin, how along those lines, how tempted are you to take advantage of the bye that comes after this game to give him, I don't know if you call it a free week or an extra week or whatever, just to really lock down his health before he does come back?
Yeah, Kevin, I think that will definitely go in to the decision-making process. Like I said, it's an injury that I think we're right at that 6-week mark or so, and he's really attacked his rehab, and I think when that time comes, we'll feel comfortable with Justin being out there. I know Justin will as well. It's one of those things that knowing you have the bye and knowing 5 critical opportunities to come after that bye, we do have to be smart. We do want to be. This is a player that means a ton to our organization, both for these. This home stretch to try to, solidify our positioning in the playoffs and still, try to compete to in the division as much as we possibly can. But Justin means a lot more than just these 5 or 6 games, as critical as they are. His long-term career here is the priority, but that doesn't mean that he's going to be any less likely or more likely to play this week. I think it's based upon the day-to-day response to the workload and how he's feeling to truly go out there and be himself.
Brian Flores was talking about Ivan Pace and the rookie linebacker and his role in terms of taking on that green dot role of relaying the signals, and said that Pace did fine in the game. However, there was one point where Pace had to cover Cortland Sutton at the end of the game, as we saw. Not a wise move to have your linebacker covering the other team's best receiver. I don't think that's something they're going to want to repeat with DJ Moore for sure. And one other thought on Kevin O'Connell, I think he got caught a little bit in the Denver game with a little bit of conservative play calling. The particular instances that I thought were kind of egregious were when they had 4th and 1 at the Denver 48 in the second quarter with a 4-point lead, and he punted, which was really uncharacteristic for him. Later in the game, a 2-point lead with 4:48 left, ran a couple of unimaginative runs. I think he's got to become the more aggressive Kevin O'Connell this week. Let's hear from Byron Murphy, Vikings corner, who had a big game against the Bears last time, talking about Justin Fields.
What are some of the challenges in playing a quarterback like Justin Fields, a guy who can extend the play, and kind of how does that make life harder for a defensive back?
Definitely as a DB, you got to plaster because, you can get a couple routes on one drive, but especially, that type of guy, get out the pocket, go throw it downfield or something like that. Just, stand on the receiver and plastering throughout the whole field. That's what makes DBs, someone try to run something short and get over the top of you, it's all going to look bad on you. So you just got to plaster as a DB and stay on top of the receiver for sure.
Gotcha. Byron, how difficult is it to kind of plan for a quarterback like Justin? I mean, he's still young. He tends to take off right away. You want to cover your man, but he can take off.
Exactly. I just think, like I just said, he's a playmaker, so that's already in our mind as a DB, just knowing what type of quarterback you're going against and what type of coverage
So, as we look ahead to Monday, again, keys to the game: protect the football, get some takeaways, don't turn it over, better protection for Josh Dobbs, being able to run it reasonably well, Dobbs running and passing, Dobbs scrambling, I think could make a big difference in the game. Get the wide receivers more involved than they were last week. Only 7 catches for 83 yards in the game. Get Addison, Osborne, more targets. Ty Chandler, let's see more of him. And as we said, containing Justin Fields, his scrambling, big test for the Vikings defense. Daniil Hunter, DJ Wanham, and the blitzers, Metellus, Harrison Smith, and company. Stop the run, cover more. Cole Kmet, a really good tight end. Special teams play well. Greg Joseph needs to have another good kicking game as he did. And don't be distracted by the pending bye week. That always made me nervous as a team exec, that guys were thinking about, time to get out of town for the bye. No. Focus on the game, which I think the Monday night atmosphere and focus will help them do that. So we will be back next Tuesday after the Monday night game to break down the Bears game. And as we said, no show next Thursday with the bye week coming. And then we'll be back on Thursday, December 7th. No show on the Monday before that. So this has been Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you twice a week during the Viking season by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers on 1500 ESPN, available 24/7 on YouTube via links from the 1500 ESPN and Score North websites. I'm Jeff Diamond with AJ Frederickson. Everybody have a great Thanksgiving, a great holiday weekend, and we will talk to you on Tuesday after the Vikings and the Bears.